been moved from Itta Bena, Mississippi to Atlanta. The HBCU game will be played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, home of the NFL Atlanta Falcons. Mercedes-Benz Stadium has a capacity of 71,000. There are more Florida A&M alumni in Atlanta than any other city in the country. Both teams are now expected to earn more money from the gate revenues after the venue change. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say.
Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Took the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is Resilience in the Face of Chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Love you. Love you.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Today is going to be somewhat of a difficult day because I'm revisiting an experience that I had where I identified with men, women, and families who paid their debt to society. Just a little less than an hour ago, the Hill newspaper released an editorial. You ought to go to thehill.com, Hill on Facebook, social media platforms, and read the editorial written by Warren Ballantyne, Michael Cohen, Rabbi Michael Rothenberg, Dr. Michael Jones, and myself, yours truly. We revisit the experience of what it means to be denied by the United States government. And so I want to play the interview. And that's what we're going to do. So there are a couple of timelines that matter to your question, right? First, I sent you an email with certain documentation that will make it clear to you what I'm going to lay out for you as best I possibly can. When I was incarcerated, for which I accepted responsibility, I had been helping men who could not read or write, and this point is Googleable. I was thrown in solitary confinement for helping them fill out pardon applications. I spent 3 days in solitary confinement. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that pardon applications are necessary. So there's this unnecessary hurdle to the pardon process that no one acknowledged until the most recent precedencies. That's the first thing. When I got out, I was even more determined to continue helping men who could not read or write fill out these very lengthy applications. Here's the first timeline that I want to give you. I did not apply for a pardon from President Barack Obama. But when I exited from prison, I called on, again, Googleable, the Obama-Biden administration to pardon millions of men and women who paid their debt to society in full. They've not reoffended. They don't need to fill out a pardon application. They just need the benign prerogative of the president established by Federalist Number 74 and Ex parte Garland of 1866. That's all they need. Abraham Lincoln issued a pardon on a napkin. And it doesn't specify the individual who received the pardon. He just wrote it on a napkin, and it was full, complete, absolute, and unconditional. At the end of the Obama administration, in nearing his last press conference, a question was asked about Shaka Fatah. Would you pardon your friend Shaka Fatah? The White House press secretary said, we're not going to comment on the relationship between President Obama and Shaka Fatah. And then the reporter said, well, what about Jesse Jackson Jr.? You really do have a friendship with him. The president doesn't want to comment on that either. That's documented. At 12:01 p.m., I did not receive a pardon from Barack Obama. I was his campaign chairman, just like Paul Manafort was Donald Trump's campaign chairman. At the end of the Trump administration, my father, because of his personal relationship with Donald Trump, we reached out to Donald Trump, spoke with my former colleague, Mark Meadows, who was chief of staff at the time, and asked Mark if the pardon process for the president was still open. Mark said that it was not, that it was closed, that he wished he had known earlier. So I still hadn't filled out a pardon application because in my heart, I know that pardon applications are not necessary to receive a pardon. Reliving the offense, going through the offense, for the more than 70 million Americans who have gone through this process is a very expensive process in Washington, D.C. You need to hire a pardon attorney. It could cost you $250,000 to $500,000 with no guarantee of success. So to prove my point, I decided to go the same channels everybody else did, which is you don't have to fill out a pardon application. Paul Manafort didn't fill out one. Hunter Biden did not fill out one. But in 2022, my father and Maxine Waters asked me to fill out a pardon application because they felt that my non-filling it out, which took 6 months, by the way, was a barrier to me owning my responsibility and behavior, which I did before the judge and the trier of fact. There is no judgment after the judge. I did my time, did what they shared with me, as millions of them others have done. In the email that I sent you the red line that I sent to David. I also sent you the first letter on December 1st, 2024 that my father sent to Joe Biden, his friend, arguing for my full, complete, absolute, and unconditional pardon, in part because not only was I Joe Biden's campaign co-chairman with Barack Obama, but I was also served in the Congress with Joe Biden when he was United States Senator Joe Biden. I'm a colleague.
That's sort of the context for the why now of this op-ed.
So there are a couple of timelines that matter to your question, right? First, I sent you an email. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, a very complex interview and we're playing it for you right here on KBLA. The op-ed is on the Hill. When we come forward, we'll continue the interview.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent, and the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
No warrant, no key.
My privacy.
You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside.
don't say a thing.
Yeah, we all got rights.
Hey, we all got rights.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it.
Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. You know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Pastor and Mrs. William Sachs Epps on their retirement from stewardship at the historic Second Baptist Church. Dr. Epps has faithfully served Second Baptist as its senior pastor for 37 years. What a legacy of love and leadership. Pastor and Mrs. Epps will be honored at a luncheon on Saturday, July 26, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sheraton Universal Hotel in Universal City, and you're invited to attend. Noted scholar Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is the keynote speaker. For ticket information, please contact epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. That's epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. To Pastor Epps and First Lady Epps, congratulations from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
Attention, have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10, $20, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-237-8585. That's 800-237-8585. Again, that's 800-237-8585.
You really about to do it? 40 acres and a mule. This is bigger than the music. You really about to do it? Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
Who among us doesn't like black music? But Kendrick is right. This moment is so much bigger than music. These are serious times. We've got serious problems, and we need serious people who understand that slogans are not solutions. When you want substantial and sober analysis about things that matter to you and the ones you love, this is where you turn. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward. We will continue now with the interview.
On the same day that he granted a letter, a pardon, full, absolute, complete, and unconditional to Hunter, I sent a letter to Hunter Biden, not knowing that Hunter was actually receiving a pardon on that day. And in that letter, I congratulated his father for commuting the sentences of 3,000 low-level drug offenders. But I shared with Hunter something that he may not know, and that those 3,000 people now enter felonization for the rest of their lives, and they now have to go through an unconstitutional 5-year wait that the Department of Justice imposes on them before they can even be considered for a pardon and filling out the pardon application. That's the first thing that the DOJ's website said. Don't ask if you just got out of prison. And we have seen time and time again over the last 6 months that people can be pardoned without filling out a pardon application. The 1,500 January 6th insurrectionist defendants did not fill out a pardon application. The Biden family did not fill out pardon applications. Hunter Biden did not fill out pardon applications. So I wrote that letter. That's in the stack of letters that I sent you. And at 12:01 p.m., when Joe Biden is no longer president of the United States, even though I argued publicly not only for my pardon, but the pardon of 70 million Americans who paid their debt to society, I sent you the notice of clemency denial by the Department of Justice and Elizabeth Oyer, the pardon attorney. My father has subsequently written President Donald J. Trump, providing him with the exact same argument that we provided to Hunter Biden, that he, like Abraham Lincoln, and this is my first and central point that the op-ed does not pick up on, has the power to issue an Emancipation Proclamation just like Abraham Lincoln did. And with the single stroke of his pen, he does not need Congress. He does not need the federal courts. He can literally grant to men and women who paid their debt to society in full, the full, complete, absolute, and unconditional pardon of ex parte Garland. The same language that Nixon used, and the same language that Ford used in Nixon, and the same language that Joe Biden used for members of his family and Hunter. On the question of mental acuity, we all saw Joe Biden in the Her investigation explain why, as vice president, he had confidential documents next to his Mustang in his garage. The Her document and the Her tapes revealed that Joe Biden struggles with memory. We've seen Joe Biden across the campaign trail, fall down on Air Force One, climbing the stairs. We've seen him stumble. And then the entire world saw Joe Biden debate Donald Trump to our dismay. It is impossible to arrive at the Nixon language and the Hunter Biden language and the Biden family language unless you're paying very, very close attention to the fact patterns of the millions of people, and each one is different, who need the full, absolute, complete, and unconditional pardon, unless, of course, someone else is drafting the pardon applications for you. And therefore, you did not read my pardon application, or Michael Cohen's, or the 17,000 pardon applications at the hour that I filed that were ahead of me at the Department of Justice of people who sought pardon. Now, people who've paid their debt to society, Brett, do not need clemency. They need to get their lives back. They need to be forgiven. And they don't, for the most part, millions of them have never repeated, but simply want their names clear. So here is our ask of Donald Trump. We'd like Donald Trump to reinstate every pardon application that Joe Biden did not review, because he only reviewed, clearly, his family's, or someone did. Secondly, we want him to recognize that there is a path to the Nobel Peace Prize. The forgiveness of millions of men and women who did what the judge said do. They honored what the jury said do. And yet they find themselves, Brett, in a perpetual state of felonization. And with the single stroke of his pen, he can issue such an emancipation proclamation, an executive order, that far surpasses what Abraham Lincoln was able to do. Another executive order to the Department of Justice, to the IRS, and to the United States Postal Service to hand deliver his signature on the full, absolute, complete, and unconditional pardon to every household in America where such a person resides and seeks to remove the stigma of a long past offense. I was asked to serve 30 or 36 months by the judge in my case, Judge Amy Berman Jackson. I have been a felon now for more than 10 years. My felonization is longer, Brett, than the time given to me by the judge. It's longer. And what Joe Biden says in the fourth document I sent you is, not only do we deny your pardon application, if you wish to reapply for a pardon, a new application form is now available through the Department of Justice. That was at 12:01 p.m. on January 20th, 2025. So Joe Biden said to every man and woman who needs their pardon considered to ask President Donald John Trump. And I, along with, on behalf of millions of Americans, Michael Cohen, Warren Ballentine, Michael Jones, and Rabbi Michael Rothenberg, are asking the president to do just that. Give consideration to millions of Americans who will be extremely grateful for his signature on such a document. And you raise the question again of mental acuity. The documents that I sent to you in your email show this exact plan on how Biden can do it. Between November and January of 2025, after the election was over, he had nothing else to do. If you have the power in just 2 or 3 months remaining in your presidency to issue the equivalent of an emancipation proclamation that frees more people than the one did on January 1st, 1863, from the mental stigma, the spiritual stigma, and the social stigma of felonization, lifelong felonization, why would you not do that? You would go down in history as one of the great forgivers of men in human history. He didn't do it. And I think that goes to the heart of who was making the decisions in light of the record that I've established for you today.
Yeah, it's very, very, very helpful context and timeline. So I guess my only other question really then is just, you know, to ensure that I'm sort of understanding sort of the forward-looking piece of this. Essentially is that, you know, this op-ed is not obviously, you know, it's partly about raising these questions about Biden, but it's also about sort of looking forward and making the case that, you know, the five of you and many, many other Americans sort of deserve reconsideration. So I'm just hoping to clarify for my own purposes. So we're talking about obviously the fighter who wrote this op-ed, and then, are you saying all sort of non-violent offenders, non-violent drug offenders, who more broadly are you saying sort of deserves reconsideration from the current White House?
So they're first of all, in document number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth document that I sent you, March 17th, 2025, essentially the plan that we laid out for Biden on December 1st, 2024, has been laid out for President Donald Trump from Reverend Jesse Jackson. That's the fifth document that we sent. We don't stand in judgment of anyone's offense after they paid their debt to society. If the judge says do 30 years and you get out on the 30th year and the first day, you ought be available for consideration for forgiveness. No small group of people in the White House or in the pardon attorney's office can have a judgment subsequent to the judgment of the judge. That's unconstitutional. They've already been judged. They've already done their time. But as these presidents wrestle with, quote unquote, their legacies, they increasingly don't give new life to the American people. And therefore, Joe Biden looked out over a nation of 70 million unforgiven people and said, my son, with his drug offense, his gun offense, with the tax issues, my son deserves something. Who never stepped foot in jail one day that 70 million Americans don't deserve. In addition to that, he said, here are members of my family who have not been charged with anything. I'm going to give them the same protection to avoid what the 70 million Americans are going through, even though they've paid their debt to society. When he is the only person who can remedy the condition that they find themselves in. For a man super concerned about his legacy, it is impossible to imagine that he made these decisions by himself. It's just impossible. Now, whether he read my pardon application or not at that level is irrelevant to me. I already shared with you that I went through 2 presidents already where I didn't even submit it because it's not necessary. But the Biden family did not submit pardon applications either. But what Joe Biden says in the 4th document I sent you was to go ask Donald Trump. And what I'm telling you, Brett, is if millions of people are granted the full, absolute, complete.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward, we will continue the interview.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is celebrating Illinois' 7th straight balanced budget, a $55 billion plan with new taxes on tobacco, vaping, and sports betting.
Unlike the federal government, we are balancing our budget for the benefit of your families, while Trump spends wildly to benefit his family and their Doge Bro friends.
He says it helps working families more than Trump-era federal cuts. 11 people were stabbed Sunday night at the Union Gospel Mission in Salem, Oregon. Police say the victims were taken to Salem Health with various injuries. A male suspect is in custody, but no motive has been released. And Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial resumes today in New York. His lawyers continue cross-examining a former assistant under the alias Mia, who says Combs raped and abused her. A man by the name of Enrique Santos is expected to testify next. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Espancomido, or a piece of cake, no matter how you say it, you save at cheapoair.com/ES. The deals are fully translated in Spanish, so all you've got to do is scroll and save with deals on up to 500 airlines worldwide. cheapoair.com/ES.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
One of the two teams in the NBA Finals will win their first NBA championship. The Oklahoma City Thunder and Indiana Pacers are among 11 teams that have never won an NBA title. They meet up in the best-of-7 series beginning Thursday night. The first two games are in OKC. The other 9 teams that have not won an NBA championship, the Clippers, Minnesota, Utah, Sacramento, Memphis, New Orleans, Atlanta, Charlotte, and Brooklyn. The SWAC Conference football game this season on October 4th between Florida A&M and Mississippi Valley State has been moved from Itta Bena, Mississippi to Atlanta. The HBCU game will be played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, home of the NFL Atlanta Falcons. Mercedes-Benz Stadium has a capacity of 71,000. There are more Florida A&M alumni in Atlanta than any other city in the country. Both teams are now expected to earn more money from the gate revenues after the venue change. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent, and the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
No warrant, no key. My privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside. Don't say a thing. Yeah, we all got rights. Hey, we all got rights.
Pasadena City College is proud to support Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr. For over 100 years, PCC has been a pillar of the community, and we're here for you as we work together to recover from the Eaton fire and rebuild Altadena's future. At PCC, we offer diverse career education programs that prepare you for in-demand jobs, fueling both today's recovery and tomorrow's growth. Whether you're starting a new career or advancing your skills, PCC gives you tools to build your future and your community. Pasadena City College, here for the Dena, here for you. Learn more at pccfordena.com.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say.
Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, call the bomb.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Took the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is Resilience in the Face of Chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
We love you. Love you.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
You ought be available for consideration for forgiveness. No small group of people in the White House or in the pardon attorney's office can have a judgment subsequent to the judgment of the judge. That's unconstitutional. They've already been judged. They've already done their time. But as these presidents wrestle with, quote unquote, their legacies, they increasingly don't give new life to the American people. And therefore, Joe Biden looked out over a nation of 70 million unforgiven people and said, my son, with his drug offense, his gun offense, with the tax issues, my son deserves something. Who never stepped foot in jail one day that 70 million Americans don't deserve. In addition to that, he said, here are members of my family who have not been charged with anything. I'm going to give them the same protection to avoid what the 70 million Americans are going through, even though they've paid their debt to society. When he is the only person who can remedy the condition that they find themselves in. For a man super concerned about his legacy, it is impossible to imagine that he made these decisions by himself. It's just impossible. Now, whether he read my pardon application or not at that level is irrelevant to me. I already shared with you that I went through 2 presidents already where I didn't even submit it because it's not necessary. But the Biden family did not submit pardon applications either. But what Joe Biden says in the 4th document I sent you was to go ask Donald Trump. And what I'm telling you, Brett, is if millions of people are granted the full, absolute, complete pardon because they paid their debt to society, they've not reoffended, whether they are a tax offender, a drug offender, any offense known to the law under Ex parte Garland 1866, no one gets to stand in judgment of them again. This is the only country in human history where second life consideration was in the Republic before the Bill of Rights. Second life consideration while still living on earth as it is in heaven. This speaks to what does Joe Biden know and did not know. And why did he select the people that he selected? How did he, given his debate performance, given what we all observed as American people, arrive at Nixon-era language for his family only? Why did he commute, which was a wonderful thing, 3,000 nonviolent drug offenders? But in my letter to Hunter Biden, which is the 3rd email that you got, are you aware that your father just condemned them to felonization when the same stroke of his pen could have pardoned them and allowed them to live their lives just like the 1500 January 6th insurrectionists, defendants, are now living their lives with no more stigma? Do you see where I'm going with that, Brett?
Yeah.
It's the same pen. It's the same ink. He just chose a different level of clemency for them. and left them in the pardon application process. Now, the 3,000 people that Joe Biden granted clemency to as being low-level drug offenders, under the DOJ's rules, they have to wait 5 years before they can apply. And then when they apply, it goes through another process that requires, well, is it going to be someone with the courage of Donald Trump? Or do we have to wait for J.B. Pritzker? Or do we have to wait for Gretchen? Or do we have to wait for Gavin Newsom? Well, they don't even pardon state offenders. So you add 4 more years to my sentence. Not only the end of the Trump administration, but now you're asking me to wait, theoretically, 4 more years until the end of the J.B. Pritzker administration, which may be 8 years if, in fact, he's successful. I'm 12 years away from a pardon if I buy into Joe Biden's logic. 12 years. I'll be 74 years old.
Yeah.
You see how they kicked the can? I only was charged with 36 months.
Right, yeah. No,
You see how it kicks everyone down the road?
Yeah.
And so since Joe Biden opens the door, Brett, in document number 4 that I sent you, that we can ask, your pardon has been denied by Joseph R. Biden on January 20th, 2025. If you wish to reapply for pardon, a new application form is now available through the Department of Justice. Your application should include any new or updated information since you previously applied. Well, the new and updated information is the mental acuity of the president. Did he read it?
Yeah, and I think, and last thing, I'll let you go, I know you're pretty busy. The last thing I want to ask about is, and I think your op-ed does sort of get at this, but, sort of the nature of the pardon process tends to sort of favor those who are politically connected or personally connected. Was that part of why you're pushing for, this broader action to the, as you said?
Yeah, it's exactly why. I can't get out of my mind the men that I met along the way. I can't get out of my mind solitary confinement for men who could not read or write, and the Department of Justice threw me in solitary confinement. I can't get out of my mind the lack of productivity of citizens as a result of the process, which was not conceived on September 17th, 1787, when the pardon power was placed in the Constitution of the United States. I can't get it out of my mind, so I can't let it go. And the reason I didn't apply during the Biden administration, please Google the article. Congressman Jackson recently released calls on Obama, Biden to pardon millions. It's there. Several of them are there. You ought to be available for consideration for forgiveness. No small group of people in the White House or in the pardon attorney's office can have a judgment subsequent to the judgment of the judge. That's unconstitutional. They've already been judged. They've already done their time. But as these presidents wrestle with, quote unquote, their legacies, they increasingly don't give new life to the American people. And therefore, Joe Biden looked out over a nation of 70 million unforgiven people and said, my son, with his drug offense, his gun offense, with the tax issues, my son deserves something. Who never stepped foot in jail one day that 70 million Americans don't deserve. In addition to that, he said, here are members of my family who have not been charged with anything. I'm going to give them the same protection to avoid what the 70 million Americans are going through, even though they've paid their debt to society. When he is the only person who can remedy the condition that they find themselves in. For a man super concerned about his legacy, it is impossible to imagine that he made these decisions by himself. It's just impossible. Now, whether he read my pardon application or not at that level is irrelevant to me. I already shared with you that I went through 2 presidents already where I didn't even submit it because it's not necessary. But the Biden family did not submit pardon applications either. But what Joe Biden says in the 4th document I sent you was to go ask Donald Trump. And what I'm telling you, Brett, is if millions of people are granted the full, absolute, complete pardon because they paid their debt to society, they've not reoffended, whether they are a tax offender, a drug offender, any offense known to the law under Ex parte Garland 1866, no one gets to stand in judgment of them again. This is the only country in human history.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward with some final thoughts.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm LA City Councilman Curran Price, inviting you to join us on Saturday, June the 14th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. as we cut the ribbon on the brand new Enel Woods Park at 8703 South McKinley Avenue. Thanks to a generous donation from Heal the Bay, the park features smart irrigation, stormwater capture systems, and space for local wildlife to thrive. And we've built a walking trail, picnic areas, native landscaping, and quiet spaces for families to gather, relax, and connect. This is part of a much larger effort to expand green spaces across South LA with 3 new parks in the works, a first-of-its-kind community center coming soon, and plans to connect it all through the South LA Greenway. So mark your calendar for Saturday, June 14th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and come celebrate a greener, stronger South LA at Enel Woods Park. I'm also pleased to sponsor the Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium, moderated by Tavis Smiley, live on C-SPAN, Wednesday, June the 18th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Just a reminder to sign up right away at the KBLA1580.com website to join me, Mayor Karen Bass, Congresswoman Sidney Kumlater Dove, Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson, Dr. Cornel West, former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., the Sierra Club's Ben Jealous, and other Black influencers in the climate and health fields, as we continue to amplify the connection between climate and poor health outcomes for our people. Thank you for listening. I'm Councilman Curran Price.
Another checkup? Why are so many people getting new puppies?
Dr. Kim's veterinary office is littered with cuteness.
We are booked solid for weeks, but who can say no to a puppy, right? Oh, who's your good boy? Oh, who's what?
She needs to find extra vet techs to get those pups some extra love.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, candidates can find it easier, so you can hire easier. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., a final clip and some closing thoughts.
Painful stuff. But it is possible for one president to be remembered for one thing. Whether they were successful in areas that we want them to be or not, it is possible that the most significant contribution of presidents over decades and hundreds of years, when time looks back over their lives and looks at their shortcomings but says, wow, but he or she did this. This is that opportunity for Donald John Trump. And it is my prayer that with this article and hopefully your story, that you don't see it as political. I'm aware of Jim Clyburn's list to Joe Biden. I'm aware of the Black Caucus list to Joe Biden. I'm aware of dozens of people who wanted a pardon and had political connections from Joe Biden, and he said no. My family, not your families.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. I can't get the stories out of my head of the men that I met along the way.
But it is possible.
I came to understand
for one
ultimately
president to be remembered,
that they needed a voice. They needed someone to speak for them. And I was in Montgomery, Alabama when President Barack Obama's plane landed at the Air Force Base, Maxwell Federal Prison Camp. And I saw Air Force One land. I said to myself, Self, I hope he comes over and visits all the inmates at the prison, because he's the only one under the Constitution that can set us free. I saw him walk across the Edmund Pettus Bridge on television. I went into the television room with the other inmates. And then we saw the Ospreys bring him back to the Air Force Base, and we watched Air Force One take off. And I thought about the men who came up to me all day saying, is Obama going to come and get you out of prison? And I said, no, I'm not going anywhere. I don't think he's coming to visit us. But they didn't have any hope that he would come and visit them. So I kept filling out these pardon applications for people sending them to Washington, hoping that someone would pay attention to their lives and that their lives mattered. That's why I can't let it go. So few black people, so few brown people, so few poor people ever even get considered for the full, absolute, complete, and unconditional pardon. We don't even ask for it. We happy with commutations. We happy just to get out. We can't afford a $250,000 lawyer who has contacts to the President of the United States to write the kind of language that Joe Biden wrote for his family, that Donald Trump had people write for the 1,500 insurrectionists. We just go back into society and do the best we can against great odds. But we always have this little thing in the back of our heads that says we're not the citizens that we once were before our mistakes. So, in our own little way, our campaign continues to get the attention of the powers that be, Democrat or Republican. And in this particular case, some of you say, sit back and wait until the Democrat wins. Well, that's plus 4 more years. They never pardon anybody on day one. They make you wait. Then they pardon their friends if they pardon anyone. And if they're running for a second term, they make you wait 8 years. Well, my judge did not give me 18 years. My judge gave me 30 months. I've already waited 10. There are other men who waited 40 years. A man called into this radio show and he said he took his daughter to the White House to take a tour, and he stood in line for 2 hours with his 13-year-old daughter. And they went through the security. And the Secret Service asked him to sit over to the side. And he said, "What's the problem?" They said, "Well, sir, we didn't want to tell you this in front of other people, but we can't let you into the White House for a tour because you have a felony conviction from 40 years ago. 40 years ago. The man called into this radio show and he said, "I had never shared that with my daughter, that I had a conviction. But I had to share with her why we could not take a White House tour after waiting in line." Joe Biden freed his family, but for the rest of us, he said no. President Trump, I hope you say yes to millions of Americans who need a new life. Many of them are in the ghettos, the barrios, and the trailer parks of our great nation. This is my appeal. I'm still the blackest guy on the radio. I am that guy. I'm still fighting for our rights. But the power to forgive is in the office itself. It does not matter who the office holder is. And what Joe Biden did was put us in the precarious position of having to ask someone that we're not very fond of to value our lives. I hope you'll go get the Hill editorial, the one that Warren Ballantyne, Michael Cohen, Rabbi Rothenberg, Dr. David Jones, and I wrote. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. I'm grateful that you listened to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And thanks for sharing with me this touching moment. Until next time, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. I'll see you tomorrow.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.